It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the three films of February 29th, 2008. That's right, we actually finally have a leap day to take a look at. In the 19 years worth of my time on Earth and doing these movie reviews, we haven't gotten to a specific leap day weekend that actually starts on leap day, but here you go. Here's one of the rare times that's probably that probably is happening, and might actually be the only time that's ever happened. I'd have to dig deep and look into the future to see if there was any other dates that landed on this particular date in history. But this is one of the few times I've ever covered. Only the only time I've ever covered the February 29th Leap Day. But with all that said, though, we do have three films to take a look at here, and I've already just wasted your time with that little bit of history there. So, with all of that said, let's go ahead and get right to it and start off with the biggest new release of the weekend. Big in quotation marks. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's take a look at Will Ferrell's new comedy, Semi-Pro.
Come on, girl. Yeah, it's me, Jackie Moon. Let's get sweaty. Let's get real sweaty. I'm talking rainforest sweaty. I'm talking swamp sweaty. Oh, yeah. Hello there. I'm Jackie Moon. Owner, player, coach. You need a fourth reason to get season tickets? You're looking at it. Call now. Come on, people, let's get sweaty. Basketball sweaty. Love me sexy.
I mean, give the man credit. That is pretty sexy. The song is pretty sexy. I mean, that song, Love Me Sexy, is a pretty damn good song in particular. And, I don't know, the guy's got some pretty good legs on him, too. But that's, of course, a parody Burt Reynolds' infamous cover where he was naked on a bearskin rug back in the 70s. But this time it's a basketball instead of a bearskin rug. But this is a movie about Will Ferrell plays a coach during the final season of the American Basketball Association. And it tells the story of a fictional ABA team desperate to survive the league's merger with the NBA. And this is one of Will Ferrell's many sports comedies, but this is one of the few ones that did not become a box office hit. It was actually seen as kind of a flop. And most people thought, kind of like with Jack Black and Be Kind Rewind, coincidentally another New Line movie the week before, they thought that this was going to be the movie that kind of was the beginning of the downfall for Will Ferrell, but he would come back to form in the summer with Step Brothers, which became the big hit that it was, and his career pretty much has stayed pretty consistent over the course of the next, 17 years, but if we're being perfectly honest here, this one is definitely much funnier than Step Brothers, at least in my opinion it is, and yeah, Semi-Pro is a pretty fun movie. It's a really good comedy that is criminally underrated. It's really funny stuff. You know, Will Ferrell is very fun in here. It's chaotic. It's over the top. It has maybe one of the best Will Ferrell lines I've ever heard in my life. One of the funniest lines from him. I mean, this is just hilarious, fun stuff right here.
Suck my cock, I'll murder your family! Suck my cock, I'll murder your family! Suck my cock, I'll murder your family! Suck my cock, I'll murder your family!
A line so good, I had to repeat it several times because I just love that line so much. Just the fact that he's so pissed off and he's just going for the most, that's what anybody would do when their anger has been pushed to an extreme level. Just say the most extreme thing possible, suck my cock, I'll murder your family. Like, that's funny stuff. I love that. That's absolutely friggin' hilarious. Every time I watch it, it's good stuff right there. And the movie is pretty fun overall. The biggest flaw of the movie, I think, was the fact that, ordinarily when you have a cast and it also includes Woody Harrelson and he has a big plot of the movie, you would think that would add to the film overall, but it actually kind of dampens the film's quality overall once you put him in here, because his subplot really kind of takes over the majority of the second half of the movie, and it really hurts the film overall because you're here to see Will Ferrell do more chaotic stuff with the concept of the sports movie that he had become known for. And there's a good concept, and there's a good funny plot with the basketball team and all, but when the film has to steer away for this subplot with Woody Harrelson, it's like, it's not that it's bad, but it just feels like it's absolutely needless. Like, it could have been pushed off to the side for another movie in particular, but they just squeezed it in here. And I think that's what ended up happening that caused the film to step away from to turn its back on people. I mean, not because the movie itself was bad in any way, shape, or form. It's not that bad of a film, but it's just like it's a subplot that really takes away from the fun of the film overall. And I think a lot of people were cleared away by that because of the fact that they had the subplot in here, and it just didn't work out so well. But the stuff that Will Ferrell and the basketball team, that's really funny stuff. I mean, him with the bear. There's a great running gag with the bear in this movie. They bring a live bear to this basketball game, thinking it's going to help to promote, the home games, and it just completely ruins every single thing. It ruins everything else. It makes it even worse, and it's really funny stuff. There's a lot of good quality stuff in this movie all across the board here. Like, it's just that subplot with Woody Harrelson really just feels needless. It doesn't need to be in the film, but everything else about it I think is very funny. I think it's very silly. I think it's very stupid. It's very much a good fun time all across the board, except for that subplot that could have easily been taken out. But when it's focusing on the basketball team, it's really good. And I think it's a very fun movie. It's a very funny film. And it was the last film that New Line Cinema did before eventually they were absorbed into Warner Brothers. And this was essentially their last film as a studio in particular before, of course, like I said, before they were absorbed into Warner Brothers. And coincidentally, I think it happened the week that this movie came out, too. So they were already planning on doing this, even regardless of how the film did. And the film was the #1 movie at the box office, but it was opening much lower than Ferrell's other movies, and many people thought that it was because it was an R-rated film, which, I mean, I don't know, because Step Brothers opened up in the summertime, and that was an R-rated film too, and that did gangbuster business. Maybe it was just because of the release date, maybe because of the fact that these R-rated comedies don't usually do that well in the springtime or something like that. I don't know. It was a weird thing. It was a weird thing that nobody could really figure out why this movie didn't do so well, and I liked it. I still think it's a very funny movie. I think if you take that subplot with Woody Harrelson out of there and just make it about the basketball team, it's a good fun movie. It's certainly a lot better than stuff like Talladega Nights, and I especially enjoy it more than Step Brothers. Again, that's just my personal take on it, but we'll delve more into Step Brothers later on in the year as we move along here, but that's semi-pro. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is The Other Boleyn Girl.
The king! The king!
Do you think you like me? How could you not?
They were the closest of sisters, but the most powerful man in the world will make them rivals. Tonight.
I didn't betray you. You do know that.
Natalie Portman.
I could give you the son you desire.
Scarlett Johansson.
You've reached too high, as always.
And Eric Bana.
Now you know how it feels to be deceived by your sister.
The Other Boleyn Girl. Rated PG-13, February 29th.
I see what you're trying to do, and I saw it right back then. It's just like, you're going to take two of the hottest actresses working in the business at that time, Natalie Portman and Scarlett Johansson, and put them in a movie where you think that there's going to be a lot of crazy sex, there's a lot of hot sex scenes, whether it's between Eric Bana or maybe even between the both of them, make it this weird incestuous lesbian sex scene to appease the teenage boys back then, and it probably would have worked for me too. But no, this is anything but that. Don't let the advertising or even this provocative looking poster fool you, because it certainly fooled me. This is very much a period piece movie with a fictionalized account of the life of 16th century English aristocrats Mary Boleyn, who's played by, if I'm not mistaken, Scarlett Johansson, mistress of King Henry VIII, played by Eric Bana, and her sister Anne, played by Natalie Portman, who became the monarch's ill-fated second wife. And this is written by Peter Morgan, who gave us The Queen, and also directed by Justin Chadwick, who would later go on to direct the Nelson Mandela biopic Walk to Freedom. And despite all the things I said before, this isn't a bad movie. It actually is a very good film with a lot of with three very good actors working off each other. Natalie Portman and Scarlett Johansson and Eric Bana all work off each other very well. You also have Kristen Scott Thomas in here, Mark Rylance, who would later go on to win an Oscar for Bridge of Spies, David Morrissey. It's a good period piece movie. It's not a great one per se. There's definitely a lot of flawed things about it, and it is one of those movies that does trick you into thinking you're going to see something much more than you think you're going to get. And even then, it's not even one of the best period piece movies I've ever seen. But yeah, it works because of the actors putting their all into it. And it is an interesting storyline to tell, and it works because you have a decent script to work with here. I thought it was pretty good, so I do recommend The Other Boleyn Girl. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last film we have here, and that is Christina Ricci as Penelope.
Cursed to have the nose of a pig.
Hello.
Critics agree. Penelope is causing a sensation.
The public loves this girl.
It's a fun modern-day fairy tale.
I like myself the way I am.
It's magical and hilarious. Christina Ricci and James McAvoy are incredibly romantic.
He's the one.
Reese Witherspoon is irresistibly funny.
I'm done dating crazy, you know? Done. Plus it's meant to be, right?
Penelope, rated PG. In theaters Friday, February 29th.
I think we can all see what the problem with the movie is right from the get-go, but I'll get to that after I talk about the plot of the film. It centers around a young heiress named Penelope Wilhern, played by Christina Ricci, who had been born with the snout of a pig due to a curse that was placed on her family by a vengeful witch, believing that the only way to break the curse was to find someone who truly loved her, and that person turns out to be James McAvoy. You have Catherine O'Hara as kind of this wicked not even stepmother, it's her mother who's playing in Richard E. Grant, and also Reese Witherspoon, who has a little bit of a role here too. So it's kind of a mix between all these different classic fairy tales like Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and also Pinocchio in a way. But yeah, you see the problem right from the get-go, and is that this curse, it's supposed to be a curse because it's supposed to make people look at this woman as a freak or something like that, but that pig nose does not make Christina Ricci look less sexy than she does. I mean, she still looks like a beautiful woman. She's just got a little pig snout nose. Like, if you're gonna do a story like this, you gotta go all in on it. You gotta go Elephant Man. You gotta go that god-awful, I can't remember what it was. It was the one that, it was that Rat Boy from the 1980s. Like, you gotta go all in on the crazy curses here. You can't just have Christina Ricci just have a pig nose. Like, a pig nose is pig nose, yeah, it looks weird, but you know what? It doesn't help that this is still on the body of Christina Ricci, who is still ungodly sexy at the time of this movie's release. And not to say that she isn't, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like, you already lose the the fantasy element of it when you can look at this and go like, no person out there can seriously look at this woman and say that she's not beautiful looking regardless. I mean, maybe if the curse was just like, oh, whoever looks at you, they're immediately going to turn away, regardless of how you look. Like, if it was something like that, then okay, maybe I could buy into it. But other than that, though, yeah, it really doesn't help this film overall when you just have her with this cute little pig nose that really does not look any different than a normal regular nose does. I mean, honestly, like, are you really going to look at Christina Ricci with that pig nose and say that she does not look beautiful instead of looking like this ugly creature that this movie makes her out to be? I don't think so. Like, I mean, this is a film that loses you right from the get-go, right from the get-go. But it doesn't help that the story is very much a predictable storyline. We know exactly the directions it's going to go. We know exactly where it's going to end up leading to, who's going to end up with who, so on and so forth. And it does not work in any way, shape, or form. It's like they're cramming way too many of these fairy tale tropes into one movie and trying to make it a modern romantic fantasy comedy. And it just doesn't work very well. It's a major disappointment. Because there's pieces there that could work, but it's just not enough there for me to recommend it. It's a film that has some good talent here, kind of being wasted and overlooked in this film for anything of noteworthy goodness. It just doesn't work. So yeah, a hard skip on Penelope. And so with all of that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies as we'll jump into March on the next episode, taking a look at 4 big new releases, including Roland Emmerich's latest film, 10,000 BC. And we also have Martin Lawrence in his second comedy released in the first half of the year, College Road Trip. The lesser of the two movies, I should say. We have Jason Statham starring in one of the most underrated action movies as heist thrillers of all time. It's not really an action movie, but it's a really damn good heist thriller, The Bank Job. And a movie that, even to this very day, I'm still conflicted on whether or not I actually like this one or not. Amy Adams and Frances McDormand in the British comedy Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day. So we'll take a look at all 4 of those movies. That'll be coming up tomorrow on the show. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please go ahead and hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, notification button, and the bell, because that's when you get updates on new videos when they come out. And we do post new videos here every day. So with all that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.